Have you ever wondered what happens when one person gets absolutely, utterly unlimited power?
It's a pretty fascinating question, and often a pretty frightening one too.
Exactly. So today we're embarking on a deep dive into that very intersection, absolute power and the human psyche.
And we're using one of history's most, let's say, infamous figures as our main example.
I'll be digging through historical accounts from, ancient writers, literary interpretations.
Yeah, things that sort of foreshadow the dangers, plus some psychological insights that are quite revealing.
Our mission really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights from all these sources for you.
So let's start by unpacking this core concept. Our sources talk about Vlasteliubi.
Right, which translates roughly to power hunger. It's described as this fundamental human trait.
A desire for control, for dominance, that
Yeah.
need for constant validation, proving you're superior.
You see it all around, really, just on different scales.
Exactly. And that's the crucial point, the scale. When someone like that, someone driven by this intense desire, gets unlimited power.
Then their capacity for control, for suppression, for coercion,
Yeah.
it just becomes boundless.
Completely boundless.
Yeah.
There's nothing, absolutely nothing holding them back. And that's where the danger really escalates.
It's interesting. Shakespeare was already thinking about this centuries ago. In Macbeth,
Ah, yes, Macbeth.
the king thinks about ending his life like a Roman madman.
Mhm.
Now, the historical Macbeth, he killed King Duncanite to grab the throne.
But Shakespeare wasn't just writing history. He used that as a jumping off point, didn't he?
Right, to explore how that thirst for power and the sheer terror of losing it can totally warp someone.
Lead them straight into madness and ruin. It's a powerful theme.
So who was this Roman madman Shakespeare might have been referring to?
Well, connecting the dots historically, it likely points to Lucius Tarquinius Superbus,
The last king of Rome.
the very last one. His reign was just soaked in cruelty and tyranny, so much so that it directly led to his overthrow in 509 BCE.
Which actually kicked off the Roman Republic.
Exactly. His story sort of sets the stage, you could say, for perhaps the most notorious example of a power-crazed ruler in Roman history.
Okay, so Tarquinius sets the stage, which brings us, guided by our sources, to the ultimate case study, the big one.
You mean Nero?
Nero Claudius Caesar, Augustus Germanicus, 5th Roman emperor, ruled from 54 to 68 CE.
And most of what we think we know about him comes from those key ancient historians, Tacitus, Suetonius.
Suetonius Tranquillus, yes, and Cassius Dio as well. Their accounts are pretty detailed.
Nero took the throne when he was just 16. Can you imagine? 16.
Incredible. And initially, his mother, Julia Augusta Agrippina the Younger, she held a lot of sway, didn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Significant influence in those early years. But then, well, the accounts get pretty dark.
To get out from under her control, her tutelage,
Mm.
he ordered her murder.
In his early 20s, yes. That's what the historians like Tacitus and Suetonius tell us. And psychologically, you have to think, that was a massive turning point.
How so?
Well, by removing the one person who still had real influence over him, he essentially cut his last tie to any kind of external accountability.
Ah, okay, so it created this kind of feedback loop.
Exactly, a feedback loop of just unchecked desire. His own impulses became his only guide. It likely ramped up his capacity for cruelty.
And the sources say after that, he just didn't fear criticism or consequences anymore.
Pretty much. He started openly clashing with the Senate, which was getting weaker anyway. He felt untouchable.
Truly believing he was above it all.
Mm.
Which sort of leads us to another really weird aspect of Nero.
His artistic ambitions.
Yes, his deep self-obsession, this bottomless need for attention. He genuinely thought he was a brilliant poet, musician, actor.
And he started performing publicly around 59-60 CE.
Yeah, taking on different roles, singing, playing the lyre, putting his supposed talents out there for everyone.
And that quest for glory, it didn't stop there, did it? The Olympics story is just wild.
Oh, the chariot races. Right. So most competitors used 4 horses, the standard setup.
But not Nero, of course not. He had to use
10 horses.
10. And the historians, like Suetonius, they tell us he crashed. Didn't even finish the race.
But he was still declared the winner.
Still declared the winner. It's more than just vanity, isn't it? It shows how absolute power completely warps reality for a ruler.
Yeah, if everyone around you is just saying yes all the time, confirming your delusions.
And there's zero consequence for blatant cheating. The whole idea of objective truth just collapses.
It's like he was living in his own fantasy world, built by power.
A world where winning is just whatever he says it is. Not about actual performance. It's a key insight, really.
So he's cheating at the Olympics, declaring himself a winner. It just beggars belief, the lack of accountability.
And beneath that surface of, artistic genius and rigged victories, there was this terrifying cruelty lurking.
Absolutely. If you dared to cross him or even just displease him somehow, the consequences were brutal.
He left a trail of bodies, his stepbrother Britannicus.
Poisoned, apparently because he doubted Nero's singing. Is that right?
That's the story Suetonius relates, yes. Doubting his talent was deadly.
And his first wife, Octavia,
executed.
Nero decided he wanted to marry Poppaea Sabina, his mistress, who became his second wife. So Octavia had to go.
But things didn't end well with Poppaea either.
No, terribly, in fact. Accounts suggest that during her second pregnancy, Nero flew into a rage and kicked her violently in the stomach.
And she died from it, or complications during childbirth.
Yes, the sources link her death to that incident. And even Seneca.
The famous Stoic philosopher, the one who wrote Nero's speeches early on.
That's the one. He eventually fell out of favor too. Nero ordered him to commit suicide.
To avoid a public execution, basically.
Essentially, yes. It's a chilling pattern, isn't it? From killing family to getting rid of anyone who might just annoy him.
It really shows how absolute power isolates a ruler, creates this bubble where no criticism, no truth can get in.
Yeah, dissent just becomes unthinkable, then punishable by death.
But here's the really weird part, the paradox. Despite all this, the cruelty, the murders, persecuting Christians later on, the extravagance, the debauchery.
For a long time, he was incredibly popular with the ordinary people of Rome.
It seems totally counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How?
Well, historical analysis points to a few things. He funded big public projects, especially after the fire. He kept grain prices low.
Okay, practical things.
And then the spectacles. Massive chariot races, gladiatorial contests, theater shows. Huge distractions.
Plus, he gave out money sometimes, gifts.
Less cash distributions. And he made a show of being close to the common folk, appearing among them. It's the classic.
Bread and circuses.
Exactly, bread and circuses. And for quite a while, that strategy actually worked. It kept the masses on his side, even while the elite were terrified or disgusted.
That popularity couldn't last forever, though, especially after the Great Fire of Rome.
No, that was July 19th, 64 CE. A huge fire started near the Circus Maximus.
And it burned for 9 days, devastated large parts of the city.
Absolutely. 3 of Rome's 14 districts were completely wiped out, others heavily damaged. It was a catastrophe.
And later historians, like Tacitus and Suetonius, accused Nero of starting it deliberately.
Yes, the accusation was that he wanted to clear land for a new, extravagant palace. The story even emerged that he watched the fire.
Playing his lyre and singing about the fall of Troy.
That's the famous legend. Though it's important to note, historians point out there's no concrete proof he actually did that or that he started the fire. He wasn't even in Rome when it broke out, apparently.
But what is known is how he reacted afterwards.
Right. He needed a scapegoat, and he turned on the Christians.
Who were seen as this sort of radical, maybe subversive sect at the time.
Exactly. And the persecutions were horrific. Tacitus describes some being burned alive as human torches for Nero's garden parties.
Oh, that's ghastly.
Others torn apart by wild animals in the arena. It was brutal and definitely connected to his next big project.
Because after the fire, he took over a huge chunk of central Rome.
Over 200 acres, right in the heart of the devastated city. And what did he build?
The Domisoria, the Golden Palace.
An act of just breathtaking arrogance and entitlement, seizing that land for his personal use after such a disaster.
So, the Golden Palace, built between 65 and 68 CE. What was it like? Pure opulence, I gather.
Oh, beyond opulent. It wasn't just a building. It was this vast park complex. Porticos, pavilions, baths, fountains.
Colonnades, a massive gilded statue of himself.
Yes, a colossal bronze statue of Nero, gilded, in the entrance hall. And an artificial lake right in the middle of it all.
Which they later drained to build the Colosseum, right?
Precisely. The Domisoria was basically Nero's private playground for feasts, orgies, whatever he wanted.
And that graffiti you mentioned, Romans flee, the whole city became the house of one man. That really says it all.
It captures the feeling perfectly. The sheer scale of it shows how his desires just ran rampant.
This insatiable need for popularity, for validation, for grandeur. It led him to spend insane amounts of money.
Millions upon millions of sesterces. Squandered on public projects, yes, but also on his own unbelievable extravagance, like the Golden Palace.
And the financial consequences for the Roman Empire were
Devastating. Provinces were taxed mercilessly to cover his spending. By the end, his personal expenses were several times the entire Roman army's annual budget.
Wow, that's just unsustainable.
Completely, it shows how absolute power can lead to this total disregard for economic reality. The ruler just believes the resources are infinite and there's no accountability.
And predictably, that kind of spending, that kind of rule, it led to his downfall. And quickly, too.
Very quickly, the economy just tanked, a food crisis hit Rome, the people, his base of support, finally turned on him.
The Praetorian Guard, his own bodyguards, they withdrew their support.
Yep, courtiers started abandoning him, and then the Senate finally found its courage.
Declared him an enemy of the state. Sentenced him to death.
Nero tried to flee Rome, went into hiding, but according to Suetonius, when he realized it was over.
He committed suicide. With help from some loyal slaves.
That's the account, yes. And after he died, the authorities issued the damnatio memoriae.
Condemnation of memory. They tried to erase him.
Erase all traces of his rule. Destroyed statues, scratched his name off inscriptions. But his real legacy, the destructive one.
Is the chaos he left behind.
Exactly. His reign ended in civil wars. The year of the 4 emperors followed his death. It threatened the very existence of the empire, caused immense suffering.
So, sic transit gloria mundi, so passes worldly glory. He wanted fame, but...
His name became a byword for tyranny, for madness, for cruelty. That's the fame he got.
Okay, so let's pull back a bit from just Nero. Let's talk about this general category of power-hungry people, the Vlastolupsi, our sources mention.
Right, dictators, despots, tyrants, autocrats. The labels change across history and cultures.
But the core idea is the same, isn't it? Unlimited power, no accountability.
None whatsoever. No court, no legislature, no voters they have to answer to. They are the law.
The state, normally, is this political organization,
right?
With systems for administration, coercion.
But when that entire system gets boiled down to just one person, and maybe their tiny inner circle, the potential for arbitrary, unchecked rule just explodes.
It reminds me of Louis XIV of France declaring, "L'État, c'est moi."
I am the state. And in cases like Nero's or Louis XIV's, they were basically right. The individual becomes inseparable from the state apparatus. It shows that fundamental human tendency, doesn't it? If power isn't checked, it tends to consolidate right at the top.
It's easy to just think about emperors and dictators, faraway figures. But this deep dive really makes you think. Power hunger shows up in everyday life, too.
Absolutely. It can manifest in that relentless drive for career growth, for awards, titles, positions, sometimes at any cost.
We're trying to, reign supreme at work or even at home, using pressure, manipulation.
Sometimes even open aggression or violence on a smaller scale.
So what's the real difference between that everyday stuff and someone like Nero?
Well, the core mechanisms are arguably the same, That desire for control, for validation, suppressing any dissent. Our sources suggest it really just comes down to scale.
The scale of opportunity, the scale of power available?
Exactly. When someone with that underlying drive gets unlimited power, their capacity for control, for harm, becomes boundless. It affects millions, not just a few people around them.
So the seed of tyranny, you could say, exists wherever power goes unchecked, whether it's an empire or just a smaller domain.
That seems to be the crucial insight, yes. The potential is always there.
So thinking about Nero's story and everything we've discussed about this human drive for power, what does it really tell you, our listener, about the importance of checks and balances?
In any system, really, governments, obviously, but also organizations, companies, maybe even in our own personal lives. How crucial are those limits?
It's something to reflect on. What does it truly mean for power to corrupt? And maybe more importantly, how can we recognize its destructive potential early on?
And find ways to mitigate it, to put those checks in place before things spiral completely out of control.